Well, Merry Christmas and welcome. Welcome to those who are members of this community. Welcome to those who are visiting. And if you're some of those who only go to church on Christmas, special welcome to you. Very special welcome. We're thrilled that you're here. It makes us more happy when you show up. There's a story about being welcomed that I'd like to tell you. There's a little boy who had a role in the Christmas pageant, and he was the innkeeper. And he knew his line. His line was to say to Mary and Joseph, "Go away, there's no room in the inn." But see, the problem was this. The boy came from a family whose parents were so welcoming. They were so social. They were kind of like party people, always having people, always welcoming people to their house. So the big day came, the little boy's all dressed up as the innkeeper, and he's on the stage, and it's in the church, and all the parents are there, and the priests, and Mary and Joseph are coming up, and he's dressed up, and he knows his line. "Go away, there's no room in the inn, go away." But he sees them coming up, he keeps thinking about his parents, his upbringing, he's thinking of his line. "Go away." He thinks about his parents, and he's going back and forth, and finally Mary and Joseph come up, and he knows what to say, but he thinks about his parents, and finally he says, "Oh, come on in and have a drink." So tonight, come on in. Come on in. Because today we celebrate the coming of the divine in the person of Jesus that embraces all of humanity, all of us. He embraces Catholics and Protestants and Jews and Muslims and people who have no faith. He embraces. He embraces blacks and whites and Asians and Indians and Hispanics and all nationalities. He embraces. He embraces people that think like we do and who don't think like we do. People who act the way we do and don't act the way we do. He even embraces Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And that might be a stretch for some of you, but he embraces all. But the best news for us tonight is that he embraces you. You and me. And he embraces us right now. See, God can embrace like that because God is big. This isn't a small story tonight. It's a very big story because God is big. Do you ever watch TV and see those stories in the cosmos? Oh my. Do you know the speed of light travels at 186,000 miles a second? The speed of light, 186,000 miles a second. And the closest star to our Earth, if you go out tonight and see it, is 4.3 light years away from us. There's 1 billion stars in our galaxy and 1 billion galaxies. And the cosmos is filled with the love of God that has been born among us. The God of this has become a baby. It's a God with skin, a God we can touch, a God we can hear, a God who has a name and who is a person, a God in whom we can be in intimate relationship with. That is the story tonight. This God in this story tonight has 3 main characters: Mary, Joseph, and the shepherds. We miss the humanity of this story often. Mary was a young woman who the Bible says in the Annunciation was deeply troubled. Friends, she didn't get over that. She was still troubled for some time. She had to be. She couldn't understand this. No place to put it. Didn't know where it would lead her. Never had the final chapter to read. And everything after she said yes went wrong. On this night, she could have said to God, is this the best you could do? Is this what I get? Joseph was betrothed to this woman. In the biblical time, in the Jewish people, that was like being married, and he found her pregnant. What could he assume but that she betrayed him? And he had deep emotional feelings of betrayal. And even after the dream, that didn't just go away. And he carried that with him. And these shepherds out in a field, friends, they were the marginalized of that culture. They were seen as scurrilous, kind of dirty people who lived with animals. They were not to be trusted. In fact, in the Jewish court, they couldn't even testify. Some scholars say that disabled people that people didn't want were brought to them. They were the throwaways. And to those people, the angel comes and brings them in. Friends, have you not been deeply troubled in your life? Maybe right now. Troubled for all sorts of things. Your marriage, your finances, your career. How things are playing out in your life. Have you never been betrayed in your life like Joseph? Of course. Maybe by a spouse, a child, or a parent, or a friend, or an employer, or even life. Or maybe you feel betrayed by God. Have you ever felt marginalized in life? Maybe some of you are here because you feel marginalized from the church, marginalized from the Catholic faith, marginalized from Christianity. You're not sure if you fit in. Maybe you feel marginalized in your families or your friendships, or some relationship has gone south and you feel marginalized. Friends, that is our humanity too. And that is the humanity that God and Jesus in this story embraces. In fact, that's the very place where he most embraces us. It's not when everything looks good and we're dressed well. It's when we're walking and limping in this humanity of ours that we hear this extraordinary good news. Do not be afraid. Oh no, I've got tons of things to be afraid of. Most of us think in fear, perceive the world in fear, block others out to protect ourselves. And the good news, the first good news, the first homily at Christmas was an angel saying to the shepherds, do not be afraid. Don't be afraid. Friends, God in Jesus came as a baby. If it means anything, it means we need not be afraid. We need not be afraid of divine love and embrace. Well, I don't know about you. When was the first time you ever held a baby? I was like 17. My older sister had a baby, brought her home for a visit, and I remember holding this baby that kind of wobbled, in my arms, and I was afraid I was going to break it, And I just, even at 17, was just caught by this baby, this life, this vulnerability, this fragility. I didn't have any fear in the presence of a baby. Years later, I was at another baby's birth, my daughter, my first child. And we were going to do natural family planning, not natural family, natural childbirth, That's when the husband coaches, I didn't do very well. I remember walking in the hospital, and I'd never been in a hospital for a birth, never seen a birth, nothing medical. And we walked into the birthing unit, and there was two women in adjacent rooms who were in the late stages of labor. And I heard the sounds that a woman makes in the late stages of labor. And that's when I kind of fell apart. I kind of lost it. I mean, for the rest of the birthing, let's just say I was useless. I think most of the time I looked like this. There wasn't any pictures, no counting, no coaching, no nothing. So, but then the moment came, and I held my daughter. I held this baby. It was like time stopped. And I was holding her. But I also knew that I was being held. I was being held by a love greater than myself. And I knew it was divine love. Friends, God comes in Jesus as a baby to be held, to be brought in without fear of what it will mean, without fear of the condition that we are when we hold the baby. We too are to be a baby ourselves, a child ourselves, to be held, to be embraced by a love other than ourselves. And when that happens in our life, and it can happen tonight, then we get it. We get the event of tonight, the birth of the love of God in Jesus, born unto us this day. So sometime this night, at church, maybe in the quiet of your heart when things settle down, just be present and do nothing and receive the one who came to love and embrace you to himself, just as you are.